what's going on, everybody? It's Adrian Mason. I am back. It is Wednesday, October 30th, 2013, and it is now time for Week 8's edition of What Have We Learned? We're halfway done with the 2013 season. It sucks, but it's been fun so far. I mean, there's a lot of great games, a lot of great moments, a lot of great plays, as usual. Obviously, NFL is my first love when it comes to sports. So, yeah, of course I'm happy with what's going on. Of course, you all know my team, so of course you know I'm even happier. But let's get to the meat of this whole thing, and let's talk about what we learned in Week 8. I mean, there's a lot of great things we learned. Some we already knew, but were reinforced heavily. Others were like, wow, didn't know that. So, 13 games transpired in Week 8. We had 6 teams on byes. May talk about them and the ramifications of what happened in Week 8. But let's go ahead and discuss the 13 games that took place. Starting with Thursday's game, Carolina Panthers at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What we already learned, or what we did learn about the Carolina Panthers, is that they're starting to put it together. I mean, they're over 500 for the first time since 2008, if you can believe that, which is a fact. They haven't been over 500 since the 2008 season, and Cam Newton is he's playing the way he should be playing as a number 1 draft pick. I mean, he's playing well. That defense is doing their job, and they of course have their big tests coming up. Not this week, but next week, Week 10, they travel to the Bay to take on the 49ers. They still have 2 games with the Saints, so the barometer is now set to really see if. Are they just beating up on inferior talent, or are they really putting it together for a playoff push? They're 4-3, and they're second in the NFC South. So they're putting a lot of heat on the Saints, keeping pace with them. So obviously beating the Saints twice is a tall order, but they can get it done. But what we learned about the Panthers is that, yeah, Ron Rivera may be there for another season. Whether that's good or bad, we'll find out soon. What we already knew about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is that they really, really suck. I mean, the Jaguars, we knew that they were going to be bad coming in because they've been bad. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, they have just, descended into the depths of hell as far as how bad they suck. They went 7-9 last season, so you're thinking they had the strong push at the end. Of course, they got blown out by the Saints at the end of the season, but they went 7-9 with a new head coach, so you're thinking, okay, new head coach, given time, he can get to get his game plan implemented with the talent that he has offensively, the new defensive acquisitions, the best cornerback in the game, Darrelle Revis, an all Pro Bowl, All Pro free safety that just came from a Super Bowl team, and Deshaun Goldson, Gerald McCoy, and you're thinking that they were going to put this all together. Well, what we've already learned since Week 1 is that this team is in total disarray. Greg Schiano, there's no way in hell I see him lasting the rest of the season. He's not going to make it to Black Friday or Black Monday after Week 17. He'll be done weeks before the season's over. And then, of course, the whole thing with the Josh Freeman fiasco, and then the MRSA outbreak, and really just how poor they've been playing. Yes, Mike Glennon, he's definitely shown that he can do more with the pieces given to him than Josh Freeman did while he was there, but this team is still a wreck, and it's still a mess. They're 0-7, and yeah, they're fighting for that top 3 pick, if not top 2 pick, because they are one of 2 remaining winless teams. Obviously, the one in the AFC, of course, the Jaguars, which I'll get to in a little bit, and the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, this is ridiculous. With all that talent, all that free agent money that they sunk into that team, and there's another team in Florida, which I'll get to in a minute about that, you would think that they would be way more competitive than they are, but they're not. So, to the Bucks. Yes. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys at the Detroit Lions. What we learned about the Dallas Cowboys is every time they open their fucking mouths about Calvin Johnson, somebody, 2 seasons ago, it was Rob Ryan, when he was the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, saying that Megatron would be the 3rd best receiver on the Cowboys team. Megatron proceeds to shit on his defense. Triple coverage, a fade route, a 24-point comeback victory. Shut up. So we fast forward to 2013, and you have Des Bryant, who's saying that anything Megatron can do, I can do as well, or better. Anything he can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. No, you can't. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. It's basically what this was. He's sitting there putting himself in a category saying that he can do everything that Megatron does. That's a bold statement. And of course, if you're an athlete, you want to be confident like that. But you're a Dallas Cowboy, and did you not pay attention to what happened a couple seasons ago when somebody in your organization shot their mouth off about Megatron? Well, Dallas, what we learned about them is that what we already know, we've known for the last couple seasons. It's not that they lose games, it's how they lose them. They find the most spectacular ways to lose games. Nobody hates Dallas except for NFC East foes, and if you're a Niners fan, of course it's a legacy hate. But at this point, it's no longer hatred, it's comedy. It's a tragic comedy. It's tragedy for the fans of the Cowboys who have to keep putting up with this. It's comedy to everybody else because it's entertainment to watch them find new and exciting / depressing ways to lose ball games. Of course, we all know Romo slip up in the playoffs against Seattle. Of course, we know his pick 6 against the Giants. Of course, we know the Lions game in 2011 where they blew a 24-point lead. Their opening game in 2011? Yeah, 2011, where, Romo, again, fumbles at the goal line, throws a pick to Darrelle Revis near the end of the game. I mean, they find magnificently depressing way. Oh, and then, of course, the pick to the Broncos, and when Romo was going, yard for yard, touchdown for touchdown with Peyton Manning, and then he finds a way to jack it up. The Cowboys always find these spectacular ways to lose. So we already knew that about them. What we learned is that Sean Lee is a beast. I mean, he, of course, my hatred for the Cowboys, and of course, I'm going to roast them any chance I get. But I will not discredit the talent that they do have when it shows. And Sean Lee, 2 interceptions in this game. I mean, he was willing this team to win. It was not on him to lose this game. I mean, he was the reason that they were not only in the game, but had the lead. His turnovers turned into points. So, you got to give him props, regardless of if you're a fan of the team or not. And then, of course, there's Dez Bryant. And then, of course, the whole blow-up about him blowing up on the sidelines, getting in the grill of the receivers coach, the offensive coordinators, the head coach, Romo, and then getting in the face of, Jason Witten near the end of the game when they eventually blew the lead to the Lions, and all this other stuff. And then, of course, there was this huge hoosafudge about, was he really, blowing his gasket being a selfish player, or was he just really passionate and intense? Of course, they showed clips, like, early in the game about him talking about, he believes in his team being the best. So, of course, Dallas fans like, ha, see, I told you it was nothing. But why didn't they show the other clips of his interaction with Jason Witten and DeMarcus Ware at the end? See, when they show the whole thing, I'll make my judgment. But since they don't, it leads me to believe that they're hiding. So, well, you know what? Screw it. That is my judgment. I believe that they're hiding that other audio footage or audio, sample, the video footage, because they don't want the whole thing to come out about what transpired during those, meltdowns and blow-ups. And, of course, there's the Dallas Cowboy fan who, melodramatically was like, well, if I'm a bad husband or bad father, and I do something at work, does that matter? Something along that line. And basically, to you, I say this. No matter what you do or where you go, what you do in your personal life is one thing, but what you do in your personal life becomes public knowledge, and especially when that private life becomes public knowledge for a multi-billion-dollar corporation, i.e. the Dallas Cowboys, which is the most valuable team in the National Football League and in the United States of America that isn't the New York Yankees, it is a problem. When you see things like that happen, yeah, you look at what happened with the whole Deion Sanders fiasco that cost him his last year of eligibility at Oklahoma State. You look at the jewelry fiasco when he bought all this, or not bought, but when he put all this jewelry on loan and didn't pay off the money to pay for that jewelry when he got drafted. Then the incident at the mall. Then the stuff that transpired with his mother. Of course, when you see things like that, given what we know about what he's done behind the scenes and off the field, yeah, of course you're going to pass judgment quick. Regardless, we're human. That's what we do. We'll wait for the whole thing to come out. Well, the thing is, he's given himself such baggage and such bad karma, bad juju, it's going to be easy for people to say that he's a degenerate. So yes, when you are in a public setting, in a public environment, when you are a big name athlete for a big name team in a big name sport, yes, your personal life becomes an issue. I'm a Niners fan, and guess what? Aldon Smith's personal issues became a problem for the team and his teammates and the front office, because now they have to do PR control, damage control. They have to jump in front of this situation because it's a personal issue that affects the team. So Des Bryant's personal issues do affect the team. Am I saying his personal issues affected what happened on Sunday? No. But you look at what happened. You look at everything that transpired since he's been in the league, and then you look at this. Why wouldn't you think that, he's unstable? Why wouldn't you think that, he has some maturity issues? Why wouldn't you think that when he's shown us this? So, yeah, wait for the whole thing to come out, but they're not showing the whole thing. They only show one thing, basically, to give any Cowboys fan or any Cowboys supporter ammo to say, see, it's not a big deal. You're over-exaggerating, haters, blah, blah. I'm not exaggerating. Show the whole damn thing. Now that I've gone on a rant about the Cowboys, let's talk about what we learned about the Detroit Lions. Let me tell you what Calvin Johnson is. Everybody knows this guy's a beast. Everybody knows he's a freak of nature. I'm a Dragon Ball Z fan. I love Dragon Ball. I don't care what you think about it. I love it. And there's a character in Dragon Ball that Megatron reminds me so much of. And if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, you know exactly who I'm getting ready to say. Not Goku, not Vegeta, not Trunks, not Gohan. Broly. Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan. Because this guy is a freak of nature. He's basically unstoppable. You want to put one-on-one coverage on him, do it at your own peril. But you see him going up against double coverage and triple coverage and bringing stuff down. He can't be stopped. Physically, he's legendary. I mean, Moss was legendary as far as being a burner. Like, just basically, you get him on a 9 route, he's going to roast whoever is put in front of him. Double coverage, it doesn't matter. He's going to run past him. Megatron is just out leaping and out muscling the coverage. Yes, he's fast, but there were a couple plays where he got chased down to have that kind of 4.3 plus speed. But that's not to discredit the fact that this man had a monster, damn near record-setting game. 7 yards shy of breaking the single game record for most receiving yards. 329 yards. QBs aren't even throwing for that much almost. He had more yards receiving than most teams had total. That's ridiculous. He is Broly. And Matthew Stafford, he's putting it together. Granted, he's been doing it against the Cowboys. He's been a thorn in their side. Now, if they can do this against big-name teams, if they can find a way to do this against the Packers, if they can find a way to do this against the Niners, if they can find a way to do this against the Saints, then yeah, they are amazing. But you got to remember, they should have. I say should have, but obviously you play the game until the whistle blows. But they gave Dallas ample opportunity to win that game. 4 turnovers. When you cough the ball up, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles, one by Megatron, the other by Reggie Bush. More often than not, you lose the game. The old adage is you lose the turnover battle, you lose the game. And before that game ended, it was shown since 2011, teams are 1-54 when they are -4 in the turnover margin. Make that 2-54 because Detroit was -4 in the turnover margin and they won. Now, how ridiculous is that? But still, props to them. Megatron is Broly. Next up, we talked the San Francisco 49ers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This game was played at Wembley in London. And what we learned about the 49ers is they really finally got back to what they do best, and that's pound the rock. It's as simple as that. They're on a 5-game win streak. Granted, those wins have come against inferior talent, but they needed to get back to what they did so well when Harbaugh came to become the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, and that's run the ball at will, no mercy. Make the throws if they're there. Don't get in shootouts. That's what happened in Seattle. That's what happened against Indy. They got away from their formula and they got blown up. They got beat up for that. So they stopped with trying to make Kaepernick, Drew Brees, or Aaron Rodgers, and they just let him run. Let him be him again. Let Frank Gore get those carries. Let Kendall Hunter get those carries. Let that defense handle his business. So they're 6-2. They're sitting on a bye. But now the real heavy work comes back because the first 5 games were heavy. These last what, 3 or 4 have been easy. So now it picks back up. They've got a streaking Carolina Panthers team coming to the Bay. They travel to New Orleans. They travel to New Orleans, and then they still have that game against Seattle Week 14. But that's at San Francisco, and they know that's a must-win. How good Seattle's playing, they need to win that. So, excuse me. And we learned that they're getting it done with people stepping up. Alden Smith is not there, so you got Corey Lemanois and Dan Scooter. You got those guys stepping up. Mario Manningham is going to be coming back. He's going to be activated over the bye week. Crabtree is almost on his way back. So Kaepernick is getting ready to get some receiving core help, big time. So we'll see how that transpires. Ladies and gentlemen, the word of the day is transpired. Because I've said it more than 5-6 times. It's a fun word, ain't it? Ain't. Transpire. What we learned about the Jaguars is that, we already know. They're terrible. But, I think that they're not even the worst team in the league. Yeah, statistically, they suck. But I honestly believe that the worst team in the league has to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So at least the Jaguars have that going for them. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Kansas City Chiefs. What we learned about the Cleveland Browns is that Jason Campbell needs to be the starter from here on out. Brandon Weeden, you're done. You're a clipboard holder until the end of the season, then you're gone. Because they're going to draft another QB. They're sitting on 2 first-round picks. You best believe that first-round pick is going to a QB. Brandon Weeden, your career is done. And the Chiefs played tough. They gave it to the Chiefs, or not the Chiefs, but the Browns, rather. They played them tough. They played the Chiefs tough at Arrowhead. Jason Campbell only got sacked once. He threw for over 250 yards. He had a couple touchdown passes. I mean, they had a shot to beat him with Jason Campbell. So Cleveland, they got some fight in them. So it's going to be interesting to watch how the rest of the season goes for them. What we learned about the Chiefs is that, hey, an ugly win is still a win. And that defense is what's carrying them. And, of course, Alex Smith should know that because he came from a team that had a defense that was propping him up as he was doing his thing, too. And what we learned is that the Chiefs are 8-0. And what we also learned is that because of a certain trade that the 49ers and Chiefs made, that Alex Smith trade where the 49ers got the Chiefs' second-round pick in 2013, and they got a conditional pick of next year. Now, here's the thing about that conditional pick. It started out as a third-round pick, and it would stay a third-round pick if the Chiefs went 7-9 or worse. But if they went 8-8 or better, it becomes a second-round pick. The Chiefs are 8-0. The 49ers now have a second-round pick in addition to their own second-round pick. So the Chiefs winning helped the 49ers win even more. So, fair trade for everybody. The Chiefs have a QB that's gotten them to 8-0, that's, helped them get to 8-0. The 49ers were able to get, obviously, some tremendous value out of a QB a lot of people thought was dead and busted. 2 second-round picks from Alex Smith, that's almost like a first. Now the 49er fans are hoping that the Chiefs just start hitting that downward slide so that second-round pick gets just a little higher. But Chiefs are 8-0, only undefeated team in the league. Props to them. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots. What we learned about the Dolphins is that, hey, remember that other Florida team I told you about that sunk big money into free agency? They have now lost, 4 straight. They've lost 4 straight. They're 3-4 when they started out 3-0. And they were leading this game and then just fell apart. Tannehill has turned into a pumpkin. Mike Wallace, all that big money he got, he hasn't turned into the big play receiver that they needed. And yeah, they've just regressed tremendously. It's sad. It's ridiculous because they started out hot 3-0, one of the 2 teams that beat the Colts. And here they are, 3-4 at the bottom. Bottom with the Bills. But the Bills, even in a loss, look tougher than they do. Look tougher than the Dolphins do right now. What we learned about the Patriots is that, once again, they find ways to win. They're finding ugly ways to win. Tom Brady is not the Tom Brady of 2007 for sure. Definitely not the one from 2012. And that defense is having to step up as Brady is still trying to get in sync with his receivers. And I don't know, man. I don't know if he's going to get in sync with them, but good luck. Good luck with that. But the defense made some great plays. They're sitting at, 6-2 as well. So they're in a good space. Next up, Buffalo Bills and New Orleans Saints. What we learned about the Bills is that it's crazy that they're fighting as tough as they are with a third-string QB. But that third-string QB got beat up in this game. I mean, he took some nasty hits. Thad Lewis from Duke. He took some monster hits from that Saints defense. It was ugly, but he hung tough. I mean, yeah, they got blown out, but the score only tells one side of the story. They hung tough. They fought hard. Just wasn't enough. What we learned about the Saints is, of course, we know they're in the Dome, so they're going to play their best, and Drew Brees is a machine at the Superdome. He always has been, forever will be. Who dat? 7-1. Or wait, 6-1. Yeah, 6-1. They had a bye. But still, they share the second best. Well, up until the Seahawks played, they have one loss just like the Seahawks. Let's just put it like that. New York Giants and Philadelphia Eagles. What we learned about the Giants is that, 2 games in a row, 2 games without turnovers. They didn't throw a touchdown or run for a touchdown in this game, but they got it done. And maybe it's a turnaround. They're 2-6, of course, but this is the NFC East we're talking. The worst division in the league right now. Whereas Dallas is 4-4. The Giants are only 2 games out of first place in that league, or in that division rather. How sad is that? When we had them for dead at 0-6, now they've won 2 straight. Do I smell a comeback? Maybe. But what we learned about the Philadelphia Eagles is that Chip Kelly's little high-paced, fast, high-octane offense was a thing of the past. After week 1, it's gone straight to shit. And they don't have a QB. Matt Barkley's terrible. And it saddens me to say that because I am a USC fan. But, hey, it's real talk. Nick Foles, he sucks. But because Mike Vick got hurt again and he sucks this season, Nick Foles will get the start against the Raiders this week. That defense is nothing. And they just traded Isaac Sopoaga, who they picked up in free agency from the 49ers. Now he's a Patriot. This team's a mess. Sorry. Let's see here. Pause one moment. All right. I know you got tired of seeing my teeth. But next up, the New York Jets at the Cincinnati Bengals. What we learned about the Jets is that they didn't show up. That was not the Jets. I don't know who it was. May have been a scab team. But they got the brakes beat off of them in Cincy. And it wasn't even so much, Geno Smith, although he did have a couple of brain farts. But, man, that secondary got abused. Their first-round pick, D. Milner, bust. I'm just put it this way. He's been benched more times than he's defensed passes. That's tragic. You waste a number 9 pick on this kid, and he's been benched at least 3 or 4 times because of how terrible he's played in covers. Like, the game is, I guess, just too fast for him. Maybe Alabama was masking how terrible he is in single coverage. But it wasn't just him, even though he is a very big part of why they sucked. Cromartie had a bad game. Then, of course, Geno Smith. Yes, he's a rookie, but what did I tell you? Odd numbered weeks, good Geno. Even numbered weeks, bad Geno. Week 8, even numbered week, bad Geno. There you have it. What we learned about the Bengals is that Andy Dalton is basically doing this to everybody that said he was not a good QB. Not only does he have A.J. Green, now he has Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones has stepped up as the legit number 2 receiver for the Bengals, and that's going to cause problems because now you got to worry about him and A.J. Green. Good luck with that. Sorry. Just the AFC North is theirs for the taking. I'm going to just go ahead and say that right now. They're sitting pretty. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Oakland Raiders. What we know about the Steelers is what I already said in my picks. They suck at Oakland. And Mike Tomlin, how does your shoe taste? I mean, I hope you put some seasoning on that boot. Because in March, you sat there and said that the read option was the flavor of the month. And what happened to your defense? Very first play, 93 yards later, Terrell Pryor made you eat your words. Put the foot straight in your mouth. How do you not have contain on that kid? Yes, he can't throw worth a damn, but he can still run. And y'all bit hard on that. Longest run by a QB in NFL history, 93 yards. That team is soft and weak, and y'all need to cut Sean Swisham When he's missing two 30-yard field goals, 34 and 32, you got real problems. That team is old. That team is banged up. That team is just a shell of its former self. What we learned about the Oakland Raiders is that, hey, when Pittsburgh gives you an opportunity to run on them, you do it. Terrell Pryor sure did. And that defense played well. Got to Roethlisberger 5 times. They play well at the black hole. They're sitting at 3-4 at the halfway point, and nobody thought that they would be, at least at that point. I mean, yeah, they're under 500, but we had them at 1-6, 2-5 at the halfway mark. So props to them. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the Arizona Cardinals, Battle of the Birds. What we learned about the Falcons is that this team has thoroughly disappointed the National Football League. They went from 13-3, number 1 seed, home field advantage, to, 2-5 now? Yeah, 2-5, and they got beat the hell up by the same Cardinals team that got beat up by the Seattle Seahawks, that got beat up by the Niners. I mean, basically, they took some ugly losses, and yet here they are beating up on the Falcons. Yeah, they don't have Roddy White or Julio Jones. Steven Jackson was held to, 6 yards? Something ridiculous. He didn't even have 10 yards on 11 carries. That team is a mess. The team is a total mess. And what we learned about the Cardinals is that do not sleep on their defense. The NFC West has some strong-ass defenses, period. The Niners, the Seahawks, the Rams, who I'll talk about in a minute, and the Cardinals. These 4 teams in the same division with nasty defenses, period. And if Carson Palmer can keep himself calm and poised, that defense will help them get in the wild card hunt later on in the season. Don't sleep on the Cards, y'all. Next up, we have the Washington Redskins at the Denver Broncos. What we learned about them is that if only games ended after the first 2 quarters, they would have won that game. Then they just self-destructed. RG3 just looked terrible. Then he gets hurt, and then that was pretty much the end of that. I mean, it was the defense that was carrying the team against the Broncos. And then the second half, the Broncos just ran wild on them. 38 unanswered points. RG3 gets knocked out of the game. Kirk Cousins gets beat up. He throws a pick 6 that pretty much was more than the death blow. The Redskins, yuck. Just simply yuck. And the worse they are, the better it is for the Rams because of that massive trade that they had when they gave up their first-round pick to the Rams for RG3. So the worse that they do, the better the Rams get because a worse record equals a higher draft pick. And that high draft pick is going to go to St. Louis this year, or 2014. So you might want to stop sucking, Redskins. And what we learned about the Broncos is that, hey, no matter how many times Peyton's getting beat up or banged up, yeah, that team offensively has been slowed down somewhat, but that defense is, has woke up. Von Miller's getting into form, and when they're sitting here having pick 6 parties and sack fests and all that, yeah, Peyton will get back into form, get back into shape. But that defense stepping up, yeah, there's a reason they're 7-1 right now. And of course, there's a reason they have that 1 loss. But those 7 wins, you saw it. You saw the reason on Sunday. Sunday night game, Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings. What we learned about the Packers is that it doesn't matter who lines up at receiver for Aaron Rodgers. He's going to give him the ball. And Jordy Nelson, man, wow, this guy is something else. I mean, he is Aaron Rodgers' go-to man, period. But he makes the most ridiculous catches. The back shoulder throws, I mean, he is doing what Greg Jennings used to do for Green Bay. Now, Jordy Nelson's doing it, and their run game has stepped up majorly. Eddie Lacy and James Starks are giving Aaron Rodgers some real estate, some 1-2 punches. Excuse me. And, yeah, they're getting it done on the ground. What we learned about the Minnesota Vikings is that you don't have a QB, you don't have a chance. Christian Ponder, he looked lost out there. The bright spot for the Vikings was Cordarrelle Patterson. His opening kickoff return, 109-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. If they find a QB that can run that offense, that kid is going to be something special. And it sucks that he's being wasted on such a terrible team right now because he's doing very well given what he is given. Given what he's given. Yeah, that was redundant, but you know what I mean. And, of course, Peterson got bottled up. He still had a touchdown in this game, but boy, Greg Jennings, wow. Bet you wish you wouldn't have said off. Bet you wish your sister wouldn't have popped her mouth off about the Packers. And I bet you wish you wouldn't have left Green Bay. I know you were whispering, Aaron Rodgers, please tell Ted Thompson to take me back. I know that's what you were saying in that little post-game conversation that you had with Aaron. Big money ain't always the best thing. You better ask Mike Wallace. Finally, we have the Monday night matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the St. Louis Rams. What we learned about the Seahawks is that they're finding ways to win on the road in ugly fashion, but they have some serious holes. That offensive line, of course, they were missing their left and right tackle, but Russell Wilson in the last couple weeks has just been getting beat up. Like, they have been getting to him, hitting him, sacking him. They sacked him. The Rams front four sacked, or the Rams defense, period, sacked him 7 times. Sacked him 7 times, and if they would have had a QB, if Sam Bradford wouldn't have got hurt, and that was Bradford in that game, I guarantee you the Rams would have won this game. But, you know, they did what they needed to do to get it done, but they got some serious holes on the road. And it's going to be real interesting to see how they do from the second half of the season from here on out. Because you look at how they are at CenturyLink and how they are away from it, it's a tale of two teams. And what we learned about the Rams is that defense, once again, one of the best 4 defenses in the division, that defense is stout, very stout. Jeff Fisher's done a tremendous job with that defense. Robert Quinn and Chris Long, Robert Quinn especially, has just been beasting. He sacked Russell Wilson 3 times. I mean, this guy's a monster. You don't give him one-on-one matchups. He will eat it alive. And Zach Stacy. Why he was not the number 1, the starting running back from week 1, just befuddles me. They probably would be in a better position right now if he was the starting tailback. But this game really hinged upon Kellen Clemens. That close. He was that close, but no cigar. But the Rams, they can't, they don't need to hang their heads because they played tough. They put the Rams on the ropes. I mean, it was a bend but don't break, but just one play away from taking that game. So, and that's what we learned about all the teams that played. Baltimore, you got your work cut out for you in Cincy. Chicago, good luck against the Packers on Monday night. Houston, you still have a problem, but Case Keenum is starting. It may be the end of the Matt Schaub era. Who knows? Indy, it's going to be interesting to see how they go forward without Reggie Wayne's services. And, of course, San Diego, playing well. Of course, the AFC West is a very competitive division, so it's going to be real interesting to see how they go up against the Broncos twice and the Chiefs twice. Then the Tennessee Titans. Jake Locker got some more rest. Interesting to see how they fare because the AFC South, as much as the Colts are at the top, the Titans still have a chance. So that's week 13, or excuse me, not week 13. That's week 8 in a nutshell. And stay tuned because I'll be back tomorrow with my Halloween edition pick of our quick pick for Thursday night's game starting week 9. We have the Miami Dolphins traveling to Cincy to take on the Bengals, whose colors are black and orange, much like Halloween. You can't make that up, folks. I'm Adrian Mason. Thank you for watching. Out.